Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll start with this. An interesting statistic that was posted this weekend by Dan Canobio of CompuBox. Devin Haney has thrown 438 punches over his last 24 rounds. Amanda Serrano, in comparison, threw 450 punches in the final 5 rounds versus Katie Taylor during 2-minute rounds.
2-minute rounds.
Mind-blowing statistics posted by MVP's Twitter account. Amanda Serrano landed more punches in her last fight than Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, and Canelo combined this past weekend, with even less time to do it because, as stated, she did that over 2-minute rounds, whereas the boys had that additional minute to work. And even with that additional minute, they landed less.
And threw less.
So many guys come across this channel and wonder why I cover the girls, where most other boxing channels and podcasts don't. Well, put simply, it's because a lot of the time, the girls put on a more entertaining fight than the guys do. Whether you're talking about Mayer versus Ryan, 1 and 2, Mayer versus Baumgartner, Mayer versus Hamadouche,
Taylor versus Cameron, 1 and 2. Taylor versus Serrano, 1 and 2. Serrano versus Erica Cruz.
Pursoon versus Baumgartner, Pursoon versus Taylor, 1 and 2.
Shields versus Marshall, and even Savannah Marshall is more likely to land a knockout than, say, a Devin Haney.
The point is, the reason I cover the girls is because the girls, when they're given a big stage to fight on, they tend to make the most of it because they're hungrier than the boys. They don't take the opportunity for granted.
A conclusion that Timothy Bradley arrived to this past weekend. He was furious with what he saw in New York.
Oh, we'll get to that.
The girls, because they're not as spoiled as the guys, when they're given a chance to fight on a big stage, they put forward a big performance to ensure that the next time out, they can get another and another. They seem to understand the relationship between themselves, the aesthetic of how they fight, and the audience that is intended to take it in.
Gabby Fundora has knocked out her last 3 opponents
in what were unification and undisputed title fights. That I have more confidence in Gabby Fundora to deliver me a highlight reel knockout than I do in Devin, than I do in Teofimo.
More confidence.
So when you see me take time out to cover the ladies' side of the game, now you know why. It's because it very seldom happens that a female boxer goes out there and lays an egg like Devin Haney laid an egg, or William Skull laid an egg. And I ain't gotta argue with a bunch of dorks afterwards about why that shit don't win boxing matches, not at the highest levels.
No, because it's the sweet science of bruising, not the sweet science of racing or running or cardio.
Sweet science, as it's often called, has been co-opted by those who don't know the whole phrase. It's literally the sweet science of bruising. You can't leave the bruising part out.
You can't make bruises if you don't land punches. This is boxing after all, and you have to take some time out between doing laps around the ring to land some punches. I don't know how so many Americans seem to struggle with this.
This is not intended to be a display of your cardio or how long your strides are, your athleticism by itself. You're supposed to take some time out to beat up the other fighter. That's generally what people pay to see. That's generally the understanding that people have.
The women seem to understand it, but the guys, not so much.
Haney put on the Ryan put on the as well, but Haney was supposed to be going back to the drawing board, getting better. Did you think he got better? Absolutely not.
Mosley to the team, all that stuff.
Just because you add a Hall of Famer to your team don't make it's gonna make you better. I promise you that. Devin, yesterday, I felt like he didn't want to fight either with Ryan Garcia. The way he was fighting, how scared he was. PTSD is a real thing in fighting, in boxing. It's a real thing. And I felt that's what I saw with Devin, watching him run around the ring. Man, I was like, damn, I was like, did this dude, I said, did he train with Usain Bolt? Who the hell he trained with? I said, he running around this ring like he crazy. I'm like, yo, settle your feet down, bro, and grow some balls, man. Grow some balls and stand there and jab and make sure back this guy up off of you. But nah, man, like, look, I take so much, bro. I was so angry after watching that, bro. I wasted my time watching that last night.
Responding to Timothy Bradley's critiques, Bill Haney said Dan Rafael and Tim Bradley, etc., said the fight was boring, but after 12 rounds with Devin Haney, Jose Ramirez ended up in the back of an ambulance while Devin sat ringside laughing and ready for the next challenge.
That doesn't change that the fight was boring. That doesn't invalidate everybody's complaints.
Bill continued, the hurt business ain't rock'em sock'em.
Yeah, well, it ain't freeze tag either.
Of course he's gonna defend his son and whatever his son does because, well, that's his son. What do you expect him to do? But we don't have that association with Devin, that partiality, and we're well within our rights as customers to say, that was boring.
Dress it up however you like.
Timothy Bradley highlighted that they brought in Shane Mosley to help Devin prepare for the fight, and I don't see what he derived from Shane. I don't see what changed.
What I remember from Shane Mosley when he was fighting was that he was an offensively minded fighter, a gifted fighter, and a very different fighter to Devin Haney, none of which I saw this past Friday. There were no shades of Sugar Shane Mosley in that ring that night.
What, if anything, Devin took away from working with Shane was not on display on Friday, and he fought like a guy that ain't got no heart, that ain't got no passion. He's just waiting out until the end of the round so he can go back to his corner.
It was pathetic.
Fighters on there, they don't have the passion, bro. They don't have the desire, bro, at all. Everybody is spoiled nowadays. These fighters are all spoiled.
It's the best way to describe Devin Haney and the other young fighters on that bill that got paid whatever they got paid, which was probably too much to turn in those lackluster performances. But Bill had more to say about it.
Responding to Timothy Bradley and responding to Dan Rafael, you don't know shit about boxing. Roger Mayweather.
Oh, gee, I haven't heard that one before. And of course you're going to quote one of the Mayweathers because that's who the Haneys are trying to be like. A couple of Dollar General Floyd Mayweathers. Except that Floyd could actually fight in the pocket, where Devin cannot.
When Floyd Mayweather was Devin's age, he was a very different fighter to how Devin is now. When Floyd was down there at those weights at 135 and 140, he was annihilating guys. It's not till later on, at 147 and in his mid-30s, that he slowed down. See, you're fighting like a Mayweather in his mid-30s, but you're in your mid-20s.
So, like, what are you, some kind of moron?
What do you think? Those outdated Mayweather references hold any weight with the boxing community today? They don't need to justify to you why they think your son is boring. They're the ones that pay to be there. You don't pay them.
You don't get to gatekeep what they think or what they say or what they know because they know what they need to know. And what they know is while your son was quote-unquote fighting, they were bored.
Why?
Because for long spells, while your son is taking a tour of the turnbuckles, he's not throwing any punches. He fought like he didn't have a heartbeat.
When Timothy Bradley says that the fighters are spoiled, I think he's right.
I think they're being overpaid and not putting forward the effort that is equal to what they're being paid.
And they're not the only one.
Are these guys making too much money?
It's not good for the sport when you've got guys going out there basically shadowboxing with each other, having sparring sessions for tens of millions of dollars.
I'm very happy for these guys, and they're making these exorbitant purses, and it's all now in the last couple of years where the purses have really, really gone up. I feel like everyone was okay or content with losing or okay with how the fight was going. Turki says the difference between me and every other promoter in years past, win or lose, I'm still going to do business with all these fighters.
And it's all to y'all man that y'all love. All to y'all owe it to y'all man that y'all love. All those guys out there, all the people that love this man.
That
Y'all
man
to
being
them.
Turki Al-Sheikh?
I ain't say nothing.
Okay.
I ain't say no names, but I'm just saying.
But if you eliminate the ramifications of losing a fight, if you're thinking in the back of your head when you're in that ring, like I'm losing this fight, but I'll be back. Like Turki's got me.
You get to the point where you see these guys make a silent agreement in the ring. and their fights turn to sparring matches because they're both making so much money. They both know they're going to come back. Why risk it? Why become a highlight for somebody else? Why, there's no urgency, like you said. You're going to get paid either way. You're going to come back either way. The daring to be great from these young fighters is gone.
Devin Haney's performance against Jose Ramirez looked like a footwork drill.
Not a fight.
William Skull yesterday looked like a track star, not a fighter. And they should not be rewarded for this. I'm of the opinion that neither Devin Haney or William Skull should be brought back to any Ring Magazine or Riyadh season events. They should not be rewarded for upsetting the audience.
That should be the consequence. Those should be the ramifications. You are getting paid too much money to turn in a performance like that. And if the audience didn't like it, there's no reason to bring you back.
The passion is gone because you got young fighters like Devin that are trying to be like Floyd. And their interpretation of him as a fighter and his career, what he got to do is making off like a bandit. So they want to duplicate that success themselves.
You're not as talented.
Floyd, for all of his faults, had a hell of a lot more dog in him than Devin did, and a lot more punch resistance. Nowhere near as fragile. You ain't got it in you to be like Floyd.
You're not built for it.
Now, what we're talking about here primarily involves American fighters, not the Russians like Dmitry and Artur, and not the Brits.
No, Callum Smith and Joshua Buatsi fought their asses off.
I see a movement in some circles to blame Turki Al-Sheikh for how these fighters are fighting as if he has any control over that. And that doesn't become a problem until he starts working with the Americans.
Because nobody was complaining about how Anthony was fighting or how Daniel Dubois was fighting, how Usyk was fighting.
Little over a week ago when Conor Benn and Chris Eubank fought, Turkey was behind that and nobody complained about it. It's not till you involve the Americans.
Spoiling these guys, man. These guys are making way too much money. And I get it. They all say, oh, money. Bro, to get that? Those type of performances, bro? Come on, bro. No passion, no drive, no hunger. Fighters are whack. Straight up whack. All of them. Straight trash. Whack. That was horrible to watch yesterday, man. I was so angry, man. And you can still see I'm still angry about it. Because I'm like, oh, that wasn't no boxing event. That wasn't a boxing event last night, man.
Somebody needs to tell Bill Haney and all of his outdated Floyd Mayweather references, not that it matters, because when Floyd was an active fighter, they called him boring.
So bringing him up is no amnesty for your son in 2025. What did you think, that you were going to shut it down by bringing up Floyd?
The funniest thing about Floyd is Floyd Mayweather himself said a couple of years ago that the fighters today are getting paid too much.
He literally said what Timothy Bradley is now saying.
But I want these fighters to stop complaining about money. We're paying these fighters too much. These fighters are getting paid too much. If you want, listen, kick ass, go out there and kick ass and do what you're supposed to do, and the paydays will come.
Bill Haney likes quoting Floyd Mayweather so much. What about that quote? Why don't you use that one?
Oh, granted that Floyd was talking about a different crop of fighters than the ones you see here today, but the message is the same.
For the performances that these young fighters are turning in tandem with what they're being paid to turn them in, they're getting paid too much. And it is a disservice to the sport.
I'm telling you, the consequence should be that Turkey doesn't bring them back.
That was quote-unquote entertainment. That was the only thing that was attached to that. Entertainment. But no boxing event. That wasn't no real boxing event. Who the f*** up in the car, bro? Who?
And that's what I want to
Who
ask
does
you.
that, bro?
The whole event was just bizarre, it seemed like.
It was.
From the no fans being there, no
all the
recognized
above.
media
exactly,
being there.
Bro. Because
Everybody
it was a flex.
shut out.
It was a flex, bro. That was a flex in New York's face, bro. That was a straight up flex, man. That's what that was. Straight flex. Look what we can do. It wasn't about the fighters. The fighters were pawns. That's all it was about. The fighters were pawns, bro. The real agenda, you don't know the real agenda. But at the end of the day, I'll just say this, man.
I agree with most of what Tim Bradley is saying, but I wouldn't bring Turki Al-Sheikh into it because Turkey can't make the fighters fight. He can pay them and set everything up, but he can't make them perform. That's on them. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Years ago, on the PBC, when they staged a fight between John Riel Casimiro and Guillermo Rigondeaux, it was the exact same thing.
The difference is when Guillermo spent the whole night running around the ring, he was not rewarded for it. He lost the decision. Devin got lucky.
He shouldn't have, though.
The boxing insider, Rick Glacier, reacted to these criticisms being levied towards Turki Sheikh, saying, "There are those criticizing Turkey for the fights on DAZN pay-per-view Friday from Times Square and Saturday from Riyadh. Don't criticize Turkey. Criticize the fighters. They were the ones that were fighting and that were terrible. Don't blame the guy that put up big money for what were supposed to be great fights. You blame the fighters."
I do. Because what the hell is Turkey supposed to do? Hold them at gunpoint and demand that they stand in one spot and throw punches? Is he supposed to climb into the ring with a scimitar?
Threaten to withhold their purses if they don't pick up the pace and pick up the action.
You know, that's actually not a bad idea.
I never want to see something like that ever again. I never want to see something like that ever again. If you fighters are not passionate about being the best out there, bro, don't get in the ring. Don't get in the ring, please. Don't get in the ring. Save my time, bro. That was so damn disappointing, bro. You wasted my time last night, bro. I was angry watching that. Trash.
Now there are rumblings of a Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero rematch. I don't think Turkey should be the one that has to pay for it. I don't think his resources should go into that. If they want to run it back, let them do it amongst themselves, between Golden Boy and the PBC, and then see who buys it? Who's still interested? I don't care about Ryan's revenge over Rolly or Devin's revenge over Ryan.
Who cares?
There's no question who won. Ryan lost a lopsided decision, and he got dropped. So what do we need with a rematch? Redemption? All right, go get it by yourself. And Devin, you're a free agent, right?
So go be free.
DHP, you're the president of Devin Haney Promotions. So go promote Devin Haney.
Get out there in the open market and see what you can get, because I don't think Turki Sheikh should waste any more money on you. This was
his first fight with Turkey. I think it should be his last. What kind of an impression did that leave on the customers? Turkey's not blind.
He can see the same comments that me and you are seeing, that me and you are reading. The same reactions. It's not good, and it's not worth the trouble. For what you pay a Devin Haney, you probably could have got 2 featherweight champions to unify with each other. Focus on that. Focus on featherweight, super featherweight.
Junior, middle. I've always felt that Turkey's resources would be better spent in those divisions that don't normally get a lot of attention. There's not a lot going on. He can make a lot happen.
Serves as a launch pad for those fighters so that a somebody emerges, a kingmaker.
And leave the prima donnas to their prima donna antics, because you spent a lot of money to get all 6 of these guys in the ring, and you didn't get much back for it.
Even if money's not an object, public favor is. You're trying to do a service for the sport of boxing? The sport of boxing would be better serviced if you invested in those divisions people aren't paying attention to.
Help to get those divisions some attention, because it seems like the running theme is it's the not so high profile fighters that are turning in great performances. It's not even the big names sometimes, it's the other guys.
Ryan and Rolly and Devin could sit out the rest of this calendar year, and I wouldn't bat an eyelash.
Arnold Barboza, the way he fought, yeah, he needs to be relegated to prelim cards, or maybe the non-televised portion of a show. Anybody that isn't fighting with spirit, with passion, does not need to be on television, does not need to be overpaid.
Get those guys out of here.